Giving the protagonist some amazing abilities is so important. I mean, you're literally going to be stuck with them for hundreds of episodes. But if it's that important, why are some powers so good that we remember them for the rest of our lives, while others are forgettable and just kind of bad? To find the answer to that question, I'm going to take 3 completely different protagonists and compare their abilities. The first thing that absolutely every protagonist needs is iconic powers. Their abilities just need that special something that makes people go, oh my goodness, he's doing it, he's doing it. The special sauce that will make these powers instantly recognizable. And to show you what I mean, let's start with the most famous anime protagonist of all time, Boruto. No, I'm kidding. Luffy. If I tried to explain Luffy's abilities to you and you had never watched One Piece, you'd probably think it sounds kind of boring. I mean, he's literally a rubber dude. That's it. But the moment you actually sit down and watch One Piece, you'll start realizing that this simple rubber power is completely different from every other stretchy character out there. This guy uses his abilities in so many goofy ways, combined with those insane transformations. Even his fighting style is insane. Luffy's attacks are often improvised and really creative. And sometimes this man will even make up techniques on the spot. So what's the secret sauce in this situation? They took a power that you've probably already seen a million times and made it totally different, and bam! And on top of all that, it just looks so cool. I mean, look at that. Okay, but what about a character who can transform literal garbage into super powerful, incredible weapons? None of that fire, water, air stuff. That's lame. My man is out here making weapons out of a wooden box, a computer keyboard, and a freaking toilet plunger. This is Rudo from Gachiakuta. This man grew up in a place where people treated him like trash. I mean, he was literally thrown off a freaking cliff. So it's very, very fitting that his power comes from finding strength in what others consider worthless garbage. And listen, this concept of turning junk into powerful weapons is insane in the best way possible. And it's also something that I've kind of just never seen before in my life. So what's the secret sauce in this situation? When a protagonist's power has a visually distinct look and feels different from the generic stuff that everyone else is doing, it can become instantly iconic. And that's the cool thing. Iconic or memorable isn't just one thing. Sometimes an ability even becomes iconic because it's tied to a signature move that everyone recognizes, like the Kamehameha or Gojo's domain expansion, for example. But now, what about the protagonist from the anime that won Best Anime of the freaking year? Jinwoo from Solo Leveling. This guy is really different in the sense that he has a lot of abilities, but the 2 main ones are his dagger skills, number 1, and number 2, his shadow soldiers. All these powers already exist in a bunch of other anime and manga. We've already seen the really fast dagger type character in a million other series, and we've definitely seen the mage who summons creatures to fight for him. He also has this like video game leveling system that feels fresh and interesting, but it just doesn't have the same special X factor that makes you go, holy moly, I've never seen anything like this before. Jinwoo's powers feel more like he grabbed a bunch of different abilities from a bunch of different places, instead of having one thing that's really unique to him. Now, don't get me wrong, these abilities look cool as heck. The Shadow Army, the daggers, the whole necromancer aesthetic, it's awesome. But it's not iconic in the way that truly memorable protagonist powers need to be. So what's the secret sauce in this situation? I don't really know, but that actually brings me to my next point. Protagonist abilities need to be simple. If you look at most main characters, they usually have really basic powers, and there's a very good reason for that. I know, it sounds boring, but trust me, it is so epic to see the main character figure out how to beat enemies with super overpowered abilities using nothing but their super limited abilities. Check this out. In One Piece, Luffy fights a guy who literally transforms his body into sand, and also a literal god who controls electricity, and also a freaking mochi person. Yes, a mochi person. A person made of mochi. Okay, this is not that impressive, but you get what I'm saying. My man manages to beat all of them using nothing but his ability to stretch his body. And that's because he always finds super creative ways to fight, like turning his body into a water tank to harden the sand guy, or using the natural properties of rubber not to get hit by electrical attacks, or even transforming his fingers into a freaking fishing net. He has a bunch of awesome transformations that all come from one simple idea: having a rubber body. Elastic powers are so basic that a child could understand them in like 5 seconds. But look at all the insanity the author has managed to do with this super simple ability for more than 1,000 chapters. Rudo's ability is also pretty simple, right? He transforms trash into powerful weapons. Bam. The thing is, the transformation depends on how Rudo interprets the object. So for example, there's this moment where he grabs this old amulet and transforms it into this weird octopus-looking shield, but it's not random at all. It's because he thinks that this amulet's true purpose is to prevent people from getting hurt. So bam, transformation, octopus shield that prevents people from getting hurt. But with Jinwoo, there's a tiny difference. Check this out. There's this fight where he summons an entire collection of bears and soldiers that he single-handedly defeated in previous battles, and uses his ridiculous speed to literally catch an arrow mid-flight, fights this dude with daggers that he can infinitely spawn out of thin air, orders his mage minions to throw fireballs, transforms an enemy who's charging at him into one of his own soldiers, throws his dagger and brings it back with telekinesis, and then defeats his opponent by going invisible. Sorry, how many abilities was that? Instead of thinking, how can I use my one ability in a creative way to solve this problem, Jinwoo's approach is a bit more like, which one of my 1,000 abilities should I use in this situation? And that makes the fights way less interesting. When you have everything, nothing feels special. When you have one thing, every creative use of this thing feels like genius. I'm telling you, there's a good reason why characters that have complicated abilities are usually side characters or villains. It just doesn't really work that well with protagonists. Okay, I'm lying. There are definitely cases where it works super well, but it's way more rare. The next extremely important part is that the progression of these abilities should feel satisfying. Characters are going to get stronger. That's just how stories work. Making that progression feel satisfying and meaningful, that's goated. The best abilities evolve with the characters. Power-ups should feel earned. They need to be the result of intense training, real sacrifice, or just overcoming serious issues. The audience should feel like the character absolutely deserves to have stronger abilities. It's pretty tough to analyze Rudo's progression because his series Gachiakuta hasn't been out for that long. But with Luffy, he unlocks Gear Second, his first big power-up during one of the most emotional moments in all of One Piece. He's desperately trying to save one of his friends who's been captured by this extremely powerful group, and they're all masters at fighting. Luffy goes up against this dude, but this time, his usual attacks just don't cut it anymore. He needs something better, or his friend is done for. So suddenly, he drops into this stance, and steam starts pouring off his skin. He's pumping his blood so fast that his entire body becomes supercharged, giving him this extreme speed and massive striking power that he never had before. This is the first time we see Gear Second, and it's absolutely awesome. You know how long it took him to unlock this power-up? 387 chapters, or 272 anime episodes. Gear 4th came in episode 726 after several years of training. And Gear 5th came in episode 1071 after he literally died. I'm not joking, his heart actually stopped beating and this transformation saved him. Every single gear form feels completely earned because we witnessed every painful step of the journey. On top of that, let's not lie, the author really took his sweet time between each one of them. Jinwoo also starts absolutely perfect, almost better than Luffy, to be honest. Okay, let me explain. Look at this dude. He is so ridiculously weak that any other anime character could absolutely obliterate him. You could probably beat him in a fair fight. And that makes his situation even more brutal because in his world, everyone is stuck with whatever ability they were born with. But once he unlocks his system, he gets these new powers, and the early fights are genuinely amazing because he's constantly facing super strong enemies. His abilities are imperfect, but he's genuinely getting better through real struggle and effort. And then, oh wait, was that what? Okay, Jinwoo goes from weakest hunter ever to a literal god tier character in like 20 episodes? 20 episodes? And I'm not exaggerating, by the end of season 2, he's casually defeating enemies that can easily destroy the strongest warriors in this entire story. And it's not like he's one of the strongest, no. he is the strongest. Because he started from nothing, the progression of his abilities should have been super satisfying. But instead, it feels super unsatisfying because he basically skipped this entire journey. But now, I have a question. If these abilities are just going to end up being overpowered anyway, then who cares if it takes 10 or 10,000 episodes? Which kind of brings me to my next point, which is that protagonists need abilities with flaws. Imagine you're watching sports. Pick whatever sport you prefer, but I'm gonna go with basketball. Yeah, that's why I changed the t-shirt. There's this one player that's absolutely incredible at shooting, but he has one problem. Every time he takes a shot, it exhausts him, so he needs to rest for a tiny bit before he can shoot again accurately. Okay, but now imagine that same player, but he never gets tired. He just nails every single shot perfectly, all the time. Bam, bam, bam. Which one do you think would be more interesting to watch? I mean, sure, the second guy is probably going to be really impressive, but the first guy would probably be way more entertaining because you're going to be on the edge of your seat thinking, can he make this shot? Can he not make this shot? Is he going to miss? What's going to happen? And it's the exact same thing with protagonist abilities. Powers without drawbacks are boring. Luffy literally can't swim, which for a pirate sailing the ocean is not great. When he uses Gear Second, he wastes so much energy that his sweat is literally evaporating on his skin. Gear Third makes him tiny when it's over, which is really cute, but he's basically kind of useless. Gear Fourth drains him so badly that he can't use Haki. For those of you who don't watch One Piece, that is not good. And Gear Fifth literally turns him into an old man. Like, there's actually a meme about how he looks after using it. Luffy's abilities don't have to stay simple or weak forever. I mean, Gear Fifth is extremely powerful, but there should always be some kind of flaw or side effect. And yeah, he's gonna get stronger over time, and some of the earlier drawbacks become less severe. But there's always something holding him back from becoming completely overpowered. Rudo's abilities have super obvious drawbacks too. He can only activate 3 objects per day. He can only activate objects that people throw away, so if there's no trash around, he's kinda donezo. And each object he transforms only lasts for a short period of time before turning into dust. On the other hand, Jinwoo's abilities are a bit more like, I'm summoning a massive shadow army that does all the work for me. They're ganging up on every single enemy, and when that drains my mana, no problem. I have a mana potion. No mana potion available? No problem. I can use my superhuman speed and strength to beat anyone in close combat. That's not working? No problem. I can always fall back on massive fireballs and ranged magic spells. That doesn't work? No problem. I can just become invisible. Just like Luffy, Jinwoo gets to a point where he's extremely powerful. That's normal. That's the character getting better with their abilities. So my question is, can he even lose at this point? There's this moment where he's fighting this incredibly challenging final boss type of enemy who easily destroyed everyone else up until that point, right? The fight starts off looking difficult. He seems like he's about to lose, but then at the last second, just as he's about to receive the final blow, his abilities randomly save him. So is there, realistically, something his abilities can't do? I mean, this man walks away from this fight with literally 0 damage. Most people love when powers can absolutely destroy anything, and so do I. These big, impressive powers feel so cool. But when these abilities have no meaningful limitations, fights just become boring. Victory becomes inevitable. Strategy becomes irrelevant. When there are no stakes, no real risks, no meaningful consequences to anything, why the heck should anyone care? Abilities should always have flaws. They shouldn't stop having flaws because the character gets stronger. They should just have different ones. Great powers are the difference between an average and an amazing protagonist. And when you get all the elements in this formula right, that's how you create abilities that people will never forget.